Welcome to another edition of the Ultimate Weigh-In Show. I'm your host, Man Preach, aka MMA Lock of the Night, and your boy on Twitter at MMALOT. And this week we're going over a big UFC 267 card headlined by a shit ton of Russians. But most importantly, we got Jan Blachowicz defending his light heavyweight strap against Glover Teixeira, the fight that everybody's been clamoring for, especially with the Glover Teixeira going on the run that he's been on over the last couple of fights. So thank God the UFC has rewarded us with that specific fight. But most importantly, we got a beautiful bantamweight strap in the co-main event between Petr Yan and Corey Sandhagen, heavily debated throughout the week, and I can't wait to get everybody's thoughts on it. Most importantly, the guest that I'm going to be bringing on in a couple of seconds here. As you guys know, I've been doing my best in terms of trying to keep the quality of guests to a high level, and I feel like I've done the right thing this time around as well with the guy that I'm going to be bringing on here, and a fellow Canadian as well too. So it's always good to get the Great White North on the stream with me, even though sometimes we look down on Quebec a little bit. I love my guy Olivier Aubin-Mercier, regardless French Canadian or not. He is a Canadian. Olivier, how's it going, brother?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I was talking a little bit of shit of Quebec, but I do like Quebec.
Yeah,
I
what
like
the heck
going
is
down
that?
there.
I thought I was welcome there. What the heck is that?
There's always sometimes there's a little bit of friction.
That's worse than Alexander Hernandez. What the heck?
No, I love Quebec, to be honest. Honestly, I love coming to Montreal, going to the Julep, and visiting all the nice places over there. I'm just giving you some shit right now. I actually have some cousins that live out in Montreal as well. Are you a frequent visitor of the Julep? Is the main question.
Well, TriStar is just beside the Julep,
Yep.
so I'm going there sometime when I'm in vacation. But you know what? We have so many good restaurants in Montreal that Julep is probably one of my last choice. But we are so freaking lucky in Montreal with all the table we have here. It's just crazy. It's like New York City, but half the price. So why not? Eh?
Well, what I really enjoy about Montreal is it's kind of like we get a taste of Europe in Canada, and we don't usually get that in other cities, right? Like you do feel a little bit different, like walking downtown Montreal or old Montreal compared to Toronto. I'm not sure if you've actually been out to the Toronto side of things, but you feel the difference there, right? I do enjoy the Montreal side.
Yeah, and to be fair, 10 years ago, I remember I went to Toronto and I was like, it's good, but I think it's 5 years ago I went and everything changed. It was crazy. Even the table you have now over there, it's amazing, and it's like a bigger Montreal. It's I was really impressed. I really liked Toronto last time. It's too bad I didn't go for a long time because of COVID, but for sure I'm gonna come back pretty soon. I have some friend over there, some training partner too, so for sure it's on my list.
Yeah, I've been around the regional MMA scene for a long time now, and it's hilarious that people always continuously talk about TriStar in Montreal. That's obviously the big gym over there. But little do a lot of people know that your original gym was in TriStar, right? I believe it was H2O, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So at what point did you kind of start shifting on over to TriStar, and you've kind of been going back and forth between both gyms? Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, it's pretty funny because in the beginning, I was training all the time at the H2O, and I was maybe going to go more at TriStar, to have some partner, And Firas said no.
Oh, really?
So, the first time I asked, he said no, and actually, I fought one of my good training partner right now, Mendel Nato. I fought him in amateur.
Yeah.
So he was my last fight amateur. Then I went pro, and after my first pro fight, me and Firas kind of got talked to each other, and there was a misunderstanding the first time I asked him to come, and so after that I went to TriStar, and I would say during COVID, I was doing mainly my training camp in H2O because it was kind of weird to go at TriStar during COVID with all the rules.
For sure.
And but right now I'm doing maybe 2-3 days a week there, and then I'm going to H2O. For some reason, I really like the the small group training right now. I really felt it was great for my last 2 training camp, and I think I'm gonna continue a little bit like this.
For sure. We have a bit of a mutual friend. So I actually used to work at a gym out here in Toronto called Grant's MMA. And one of the main guys that we had was on The Ultimate Fighter with you, Mr. Elias Theodoru. Did you guys get along much during the taping of that? Do you guys still keep in contact at all?
I saw him a lot at TriStar. But I will be honest with you, I didn't see him for like maybe 3 or 4 years. I still follow him on Instagram and everything, but like he's the kind of guy who like he's really like a funny guy.
Of course, yeah. You guys seem like you would get along.
Yeah, no, I really liked him. I think he was really funny, and he was one of the most interesting guy on the Ultimate Fighter too. So no, for sure, and I'm pretty happy that he's a happy drug addict right now.
He's like the pothead of MMA. Like he's
exactly.
Sean O'Malley a run for his money now.
Yeah, man.
Last question, then we'll get into the card here. When you were in your amateur days, I'm trying to pull it up right now. Did you ever fight for Fight Quest? I believe that was the amateur promotion there. No.
Yeah, I think my first fight was for Fight Quest.
And was that in the reserve, the Kanawaki?
I don't remember. I don't think it was in the reserve. I think it was one of the first show, like in maybe in Laval or somewhere like this. But I remember fighting for Fight Quest, but I'm not sure where it was. It was like so long ago. But yeah, I remember on that card there was Iman Zabi.
Yeah.
I think there was there Mike Ricci? I'm not sure. No, I don't think there was Mike Ricci, but I'm sure Iman Zabi was fighting on that card. So it's always fun, like to see how we all evolve in the sport.
Exactly. That. So when I used to work at that gym, we used to take a bunch of our amateur competitors and bring them to Fight Quest and go down to Kanawaki. And I'm not sure if you ever been to the venue that they had down there, but it was like it looked like a small church, and our warm up area was in the kitchen, and they have like 2 mats on the ground for us to like prepare and get these guys ready to go out there and fight in front of all these people. It was hilarious. But I remember seeing guys like Marc-Andre Barriot, the Jourdain brothers, who are obviously very big as well. Coming up fighting on the same card. Sam DeBalk, I believe, is another guy that you might have trained with in the past as well. But yeah, it was awesome, like just seeing those guys and now seeing where they are with their careers now. And then even yourself, who was pretty much an amateur back then as well too, and seeing these guys grow. And there was always like an Ontario versus Quebec kind of rivalry, because Ontario was always so shit in terms of putting shows on. So we had to go over to Quebec and have our guys compete over there. Or there was Gatineau at the casino, or whether it was in Montreal or even on the native reserve over there. So I got a bunch of stories of my experiences over there with Quebec and the regional scene, but I just wanted to know if you had actually made it down to that amateur show for Fight Quest down in Kanawaki. Very interesting. I'm not sure if you've ever been down to Kanawaki, but I'm sure you may have a story or two about that very shady place.
Yeah, but well, I like Kanawaki. I mean, it's a land of the free.
Exactly.
No, it's a fuck. I'm not sure if I fought there. I know I went there for some of my friends' fights, but for some reason, I know I fought a lot on Brossard, like in those freaking like bar.
Oh yeah. They were trying to get it done anywhere,
almost
man.
like on the side of the ring and everything. So I fought there. I fought in Gatineau too.
Yep.
But I just did for amateur fight. I remember after fighting Mendel, I was not able to get any fights, and I think anyway Mendel was the main boss anyway. So
yeah.
After that, like I went pro. But even pro, it was so hard to get people to fight.
Yeah, I see. Like even on Tapology, like your first 2 fights that you got signed for your pro debut both fell out. Daniel Ireland and Justin Smethurst, I believe the kid's name was. But yeah, it's awesome just seeing everybody kind of develop to where they are right now. But one more thing, actually, before we do get into the card, in regards to your reactions to the past PFL fights that we just had on Wednesday, did you get to watch the card? And then obviously, what did you think of? Well, I guess let's talk about your weight class, right? Let's talk about Manfio and that fight. How did you feel about that fight? And what are your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, if Manfio is there, it's because of me.
Right?
I got hurt.
It could have been you. It could have been you.
But you know what? When he said at the end of the fight, like, I would like to thank Jesus or God, I was like, dude, like, I don't really believe in it, but for you, I think it's true because I got hurt. Then he did the fight, but then they didn't put in the playoff.
Nope.
We had Pittis to miss weight first, and then he came back. So twice they asked him, and then he was able to win the $1 million. So I'm pretty happy for him. Actually, I know he was supposed to maybe retire just before he got called. So I'm really happy that he's the winner. To be honest, I really think I would have beat both of those guys in the final. But still, like, if someone like, I'm really happy that Manfio won that. Actually, you know,
I think he owes you 10% of that $1 million, Olivier.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest, brother. I think he owes you about 10%, but maybe you can get that back next season, right? I'm assuming the plan is for you to be a part of their next season, depending on how it goes down. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have 3 years with them, so it's a little bit like the UFC. I have to stay with them, but they can't kick me out. I have the feeling they like me, even though. I'm gonna tell you the story actually. My last fight, my opponent, he missed weight. You know, he missed weight, I think, by 3 pounds. But the thing, it's they told me before the weigh-in that he was going to miss for 1 pound. Yeah. So some guy called me. He's like, "Oh, your opponent's gonna like miss weight by 1 pound." Like, okay, no problem. Like, let's do this shit. Like, let's go. I don't care. And at the weigh-in, I see he missed weight for 3.5 pounds. So I was like, what the heck is that? Like, this guy freaking lied to me. Yeah. And I was kind of like, I was pretty mad actually. So I text the guy. I was like, yo, you lied to me. It was not 1 pound. It was 3.5 pounds. Anyway, we do the picture and everything. We go in the back, and I ask Ed, like one of the guy who would take care of the fighters, like, yo, like, I was like, dude, who's this guy? Like, I show him the phone numbers, like, who called me and told me it was 1 pound? I really think it's disrespectful to tell me that, and
so come up 3 pounds over instead.
Yeah, exactly. So Ed is like, oh, give me the phone number. I'm gonna see, and I'm gonna text him to come see me and like talk to you, you know. So yeah, I give him the phone number. And it was Recefo.
Oh no!
so he's like, "Oh, it's Recefo." I was like, "Oh, okay, no, that's."
I take it back. I take it back, boss. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was like, "Don't worry about that." And I was like, "Oh shit!" I just text the guy like, "You fucking lied to me" and everything. So like Recefo like show up. I was like, "Yeah, I kind of text you."
He's gonna think you're like a diva, hard to work with, or something like that.
But like it was all good, you know. Ray was like, "I'm sorry, like the guy at the weigh-in told me it was 1 pound. I really thought it was 1 pound, so it was like miscommunication." So I was like, "Don't worry."
And you were cutting weight, and you're cutting weight. I'm sure you're upset too. Like, you're
not exactly. You know, it was everything. You know, and I mean, 3.5 pounds. It's a lot. I think I would have asked a little bit more than 20%. You know,
for sure.
But anyway, like I thought it was pretty funny, and I was like telling Edward, like, am I getting signed next year too? Because
did I screw my chances over?
Yeah, did I screw everything?
Well, with all due respect to Mr. Daryl Horcher, at least he wasn't a wrestler that could have used those extra poundages to put on top of you and kind of drag you out and make it tougher, right? I think he's more of a striker than anything. So I think, you know, was it really going to make too much of a difference based on your game plan that you're going to implement in that fight anyway?
Yeah, and you know what? It was really nice after too. He truly apologized. Like I really think he felt bad about it. And at the same time, I kind of felt like it's understandable because of COVID, because of everything. You know, he got called maybe 2-3 weeks before the fight. He was actually supposed to fight one of my friends, Mick Tzfar.
Oh yeah.
They asked him to fight him at the PFL, but Nathan got injured and they called him instead. So I was kind of like, you know what, like there is no problem about that. So
Absolutely. I will say you probably had one of the toughest last 3 fights in the UFC before, come on, Alexander Hernandez, Gilbert Burns, and then Arman Tsarukyan before he really started to blow up. But people knew what kind of shit Arman Tsarukyan, was bringing to the table, especially with his UFC debut against Islam Makhachev and the kind of fight that I gave to him. We'll talk about that one last time before we actually get to the fights here. When you got that call for Arman, what was like the conversation? Was there any conversation where you're just like, I have to give whatever, or I have to take whatever the UFC is giving me at that point in time?
Yeah, you know what? I was coming from two loss too.
Yeah.
I just lost against Gilbert, so like for sure I was kind of in a weird spot, And Firas was really not happy with the matchup, but I was like, dude, like I need to take the fight, like not only like the UFC want me to take the fight, but personally like my goal in this sport is to fight anybody,
For sure.
I want to be able to beat anybody, and I was not going to say no. And at that point, I was betting a lot, and I was talking to a lot of capper, and actually the capper were like, "No, don't take the fight."
I think that was when our guy Josh P hit you up, right? I think it was Josh. Yeah, he's the one that kind of like helped you all kind of break down that fight. But again, very, very, very tough ass to beat a guy like that, who I think you would agree to. You could probably see him in a title fight within the next year and a half if he can stay active enough, right? So very, very tough fight, but it's still, you are in the PFL now, my friend, right? Like you have the chance to go out there and win $1 million by just winning. There's no nonsense. There's no storyline. There's no bullshit. You go in there, you fight, you win, you make it to the finals, you win $1 million. Wouldn't you? Is that almost not like a blessing in disguise? Like I think that a lot of people in the past were just talking about like, or over like since the last event, they're just like, why are the UFC fighters not just hopping over to the PFL now, right? Not trying to shit on the PFL roster, but like to there's so many times where like Tony Ferguson had so many fights before he finally got a title shot. Whereas here it's like you win a couple, the regular season, you win the playoffs, you win the finals, $1 million. There you go. There's no if, ands, or buts. You don't even have to build a social media presence if you don't want to. You get $1 million, right? Do you think that we're going to start to see a slow transition of fighters from either Bellator or UFC or whatever start to make their way over to the PFL? Because I think the PFL needs it sooner than later, because there's only so much time that they continue awarding, the $1 million prizes, not to mention the purses that you guys are already getting paid. They need to see that turnaround already. They need to see the big names come over there so that they can, reach a wider audience and get more advertising dollars, all that type of stuff. You got to believe more people are going to hop over soon, right?
Yeah, well, I hope so. And I know this year they signed a lot of big name, and unfortunately, I think Rory was the one who did the best. Wardoom kind of fell. Same thing with Pettis.
Yeah.
So I think it's a shame, but I think it's going to be really hard for PFL to sign people really known in the UFC, and people not only known but like still on their prime. I think sometimes it's those fighters, like they don't see what's best for them, and they just want to be in the UFC. That's it. But maybe at some point someone's gonna decide, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of getting treated like this. Like personally, I really think I'm getting like a better treatment in PFL. Like for sure, everybody that work for UFC are awesome, but it's more the higher strategy. I mean, I got called when I was hurt, just to get some pressure, for me to fight even if I'm hurt. Like PFL, it never happened. When I got hurt for my first fight, they called me asking me if I needed money so I could like go and help them, to work with them. So it's like two different mentality, and I do feel like some people's gonna come to PFL, but I think it's gonna be hard. I think it's gonna be really hard. So I really hope it's gonna happen. Though.
All right, let's get you that $1 million first.
Yeah. Right. But I know that who did they sign from Ireland or Scotland
for PFL?
Yeah, I know they signed like a 155 or like recently.
Did he already compete for them or no?
No, it would be the first. He was a UFC fighter before.
I don't recall. If anybody in the chat could help us out with that, recently signed UFC fighter hopping over to PFL. I think you said from that region, Ireland, Scotland. If anybody in the chat has that answer, that'll be great. But Oli, let's not wait any more time, brother. Let's get into this. Let's get into this. We got 14 fights.
Sorry about that. I talked a lot.
No, I could talk to you for an hour and a half, and it seems like the people in the comment section are really enjoying it as well. But the main purpose of the show is to talk about some bets. Let's try to put some money in some people's pockets. And first and foremost, I'm saying 14 fights because we're scheduled to have 15, but this morning or late last night, depending on when you guys were watching the weigh-ins, Damir Ismagulov is the first guy to hit the scales, comes in at 163 pounds, and it just looks horrible. Literally, his coaches are helping him take his clothes off, getting him onto the scale, misses weight by 7.5 pounds, and then they quickly, scrap the fight after that. I just want to get your thoughts. Like, have you ever had like a horrible weight cut? Like obviously all weight cuts are tough on your body, don't get me wrong, but is there one that comes to mind where you're like, fuck, I really felt like shit going into this fight?
I just before, like, how many pounds did he miss weight?
7.5.
Oh shit. Yeah. I heard Recefo called his opponent and told him it was 1 pound though. If I had like a big weight cut, I think the hardest one I had was in New York City. Shit, I don't remember my opponent. It was during the Habib crazy event.
UFC 223 against Evan Dunham.
Yeah, Evan Dunham, exactly. I think
he finished him in 53 seconds. So like,
good thing he didn't go longer because I would have been dead. But yeah, that was a really hard one. And after that one, I was like, okay, I have to lose less water than that. It was not hard. Like, oh man, I'm not gonna make it. But it was like not enjoyable. It was really, really, really not fun. But other than that, normally I just maybe lose 9 pounds of water. So I'm not the biggest guy like that lose a lot of water. I remember against Gilbert Burns, when the first fight got canceled, it's because he came in at 186 the week of the week of the fight, and they said, yeah, he cannot lose that much weight, and I was like, 186 pounds? Like, when I'm big, I'm not even that. Like, when I eat whatever I want, I'm not even 186.
It's funny on Tapology for that council belt. It says Burns deemed too heavy to attempt weight cut.
And dude, I was looking at his Instagram story, and he was like showing his abs and everything. I was like, what the fuck? Like, this guy have no fat at all. Like, how the fuck does he do that? Like, it's crazy,
Yeah. One of the questions I asked one of the coaches that I had on recently was, like, do you put stock into how a fighter looks on the scale, or how do you kind of judge what kind of shape a fighter is in just by looking at them at the weigh-ins? And the one thing that he said is the main part is how they rehydrate, how they put the weight back on. That's the important part, not how they look on the scale, but what are they doing to get, nutrients and all that stuff back into their body so that they can actually fight. What's your take on that? Like, do you kind of agree with that? Like, that a lot of it is on the replenishment and not so much, getting the weight down? Like, obviously that's a huge part of it too, but to you, what's kind of the big part about the weigh-ins and replenishing?
Yeah, I think he's right about that. And in a betting perspective, I do feel missing weight is a red flag, but like making weight and some like fucking fire or like this on the scale, maybe that's a red flag too. But if sometimes they have trouble, I do feel that they're just gonna like freaking like do everything's right. Like, I mean, Habib have a lot of trouble during making his weight. So I just feel that some people, it may be a red flag. For some reason, I have who missed weight last week.
I'm trying to recall.
I remember saying it's a red flag, and fuck. Anyway,
up right now. Somebody did miss weight last week. Well, Paulo Costa, obviously.
Paulo Costa, exactly.
Like 2 weight classes or
exactly. Class, right? So that's the reason why I bet against Paulo Costa. I really thought it was like a big red flag, and especially he come in the freaking like press conference, like no way I'm doing that.
He didn't give a fuck. He did not give a shit.
What the heck is that? Exactly. Like a little bit with a smile too, you know?
Yeah, it's like he didn't care. Like, to me, it seemed like he just wanted to get cut by the UFC because there were rumors that he's been trying to get paid more or something like that. So I thought he wanted to like sabotage the event a little bit and then try to get cut. But apparently he's sticking around. Dana White didn't take it as harshly as I thought he would have, but it paid off, man. Like, his strongest round was the 5th round, right? Like, he goes out there and was really putting it on Marvin Vettori that night. So very interesting aspect there. So Ollie, let's just get right into the card here. Right at the bottom of the fight, we got a 125-pound bout between Tagir Ulanbekov, obviously a fellow Dagestani, another guy that used to train under Khabib's father as well. He's going up against Brazilian Alan Nascimento. In terms of odds, we obviously have heavy chalk on the Dagestani as we normally do, minus 355 on him, plus 320 on Alan Nascimento. Tagir Ulanbekov, kind of lanky for this division, 5'7". He's usually the taller guy in his fights, but in this fight, Alan Nascimento is actually 5'9". So he's going to be dealing with a slightly taller opponent. Ulanbekov's game, a lot of it is predicated around what Dagestanis do, and that's dragging your ass to the ground and trying to, really put the work on you from on top. He's really good at scrambling as well, but on the feet, he's not too bad either. He can really hold his own there. I feel like he uses his striking when he's able to kind of maintain his distance from his opponent, but I don't think he's going to have, obviously he's not going to have the height or reach advantage here. So I think you'll see him kind of shoot a little bit more. Nascimento, obviously, more often than not, when you get a guy from Brazil, he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. That's what we are getting from Nascimento, but I just don't think he's going to be able to keep up with kind of that grinding wrestling pace that Ulanbekov is going to be able to throw on him here. Nascimento has never been finished in his career. Very durable. He's fought some pretty good competition on the regional scene as well. Will Campuzano is one guy that really comes to mind. Not a lot of people are really familiar with him if they kind of started watching after the Conor McGregor era, but Campuzano is definitely a very viable opponent that we've seen him kind of go up against in the regional scene. But here, I think he's gonna get grapple fucked, man. That's kind of like what I like to call it here. I think he's just going to get taken down. I think he'll be pretty much ahead of the scrambles at pretty much every single time. What are your thoughts on that? Like, in terms of like the Dagestani wrestlers going up against Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts, like, do you have any type of thought on those type of stylistic matchups?
Yeah, I really think that Dagestani wrestler have the edge on any grappler. I think it's really harder to tap someone in MMA, and I think especially in the new generation, be on the bottom. It's really, really, really bad. Even if you are one of the best on the ground, I think it's really bad. So that's the reason why I do think all the Russian right now are maybe have an edge on everybody. So yeah, no, I would go with the Russian on this one too, even though I don't really know any of those guys. And I find that, by the way, I find that this card is it's on a betting perspective, it's a really hard card to bet.
Yeah,
to bet on.
Got to do a lot of parlays and stuff to try to get some value if you want, or bet props as well. That's another way of going about it. But yeah, you really have to like dig deep to find like a good dog. And I feel like I found a couple good dogs that I can't wait to hear your thoughts on once we actually get to them. But yeah, I don't think Nascimento is one of those guys that we need to be looking at as a potential live underdog in the spot. So I got Ulanbekov. Our guy Ollie has Ulanbekov as well. So let's just keep the train moving along here. We got Yazong Hu going up against Andre Andre Petroski, 185-pound bout. Petroski coming in on short notice here somewhat. He did fight I believe a couple weeks ago, where he made his UFC debut, submitting Michael Gilmer in the third round, which was kind of the surprise to a lot of people because Andre Petroski, one of those very, thick wrestling jiu-jitsu guys, but has a horrible gas tank. That's kind of been his downfall. On the Ultimate Fighter, he ended up losing to Brian Battle, who ended up going on to win the Ultimate Fighter. But the reason he ended up losing that fight, went balls to the wall in that first round, was not able to finish Brian Battle, and then eventually got finished in that second round himself. But if you look at his record, the guy just has a plethora of first round finishes, getting guys to the ground, smashing them on the ground, either getting a TKO or a submission. I think that's going to kind of be the same thing here against Yazong, who making his comeback after an extended layoff. He got pretty much thrown around by Cyril Asker up at heavyweight in his UFC debut. Then he went down a weight class, fought Rashad Coulter, got outgutted in that fight as well, where he just couldn't keep up with him. And now here he is going up against probably the best skilled fighter that he's fought to this point. But there are some interesting things because who finally coming down to his legitimate weight class of 185 pounds. The guy looked pretty good on the scales this morning. And people are thinking that it's going to be very difficult for Petroski to drag this guy to the ground. I don't think so. I think Petroski will be able to get this guy to the ground. I think he'll be able to smash him. I think once that hits the ground, they are levels apart in terms of the jiu-jitsu, and I think that we'll be able to see that right off the bat. I believe Yazong has been spending the majority of his time over there at the UFC Shanghai PI, and they have not been that hot recently, not at all. Not to mention the couple guys that actually lost in the Contender Series earlier this week as well. If this does get out of the first round, yes, it gets super fishy for Petroski. Yazong could probably put it on him, probably get him out of there in the second or third round, which is why the only way that I'm approaching this, I have an official bet, a small play on Petroski to win in round one at plus 250 rather than playing minus 230, which I think is just a crazy line, especially considering the most of his success will come in that first round. Or you can play Yazong Hu round 2, round 3, which is obviously going to be a crazy number considering he's an underdog. And we obviously know that these round props are obviously like plus 1,200, plus 1,500 is normally what you get for those spots. So what are your thoughts here? I'm not sure if you're too familiar with Petroski, but you don't usually have too much confidence betting a guy that doesn't have great cardio. But I feel like the skill level is just so vast and so separated once these guys hit the mat.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna pass on this one. Like you said, if Petroski have a cardio problem, that could be truly a big problem. And for who, it's sad to say, but the level right now, I don't feel it's in China yet. I think they are trying to build them, and it's gonna take some time. And I don't think it's over there yet. And I do like his nickname, Totoro. But yeah, there is too mystery in this fight. I think like you said, anything can happen if the first round pass, and anything can happen too in the first round. So personally, I'm not confident. I'm not really familiar with any of those guys. So for me, I'm gonna pass.
There we go. All right, let's keep it moving along because we still got 12 more fights to get through. We got Makwan Amirkhani going up against Lerone Murphy. In terms of odds, we got minus 280 on Lerone Murphy and plus 255-ish on Makwan. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Mr. Makwan Amirkhani, so I'll just actually kick it on over to you. How do you feel about this matchup?
Look, I'm a big fan of Makwan Amirkhani. As a fighter, I really like watching him. I like the fact that he kind of gas.
Yeah.
And I think it makes every fight interesting. But I bet against him in the past, and I do feel it's never fun to bet against him. I think Murphy is better than him. But Makwan is so dangerous in the first round and a half. So I'm gonna pass on this one. I don't know how you feel about this fight.
Yeah, with Makwan Amirkhani, very crafty, especially with like his Darce chokes and his Anaconda chokes. Has a very good sneaky choke game for sure, and that's something that Lerone Murphy's going to have to worry about. The spot that I actually liked is the violence bet in this fight, the under 2.5, because I could see Makwan Amirkhani locking up a sub early here. The sub prop is actually, last time I checked, it's roughly around plus 800, which I think is absolutely crazy considering his level of jiu-jitsu experience. And then on the flip side, with Lerone Murphy, I feel like he could be live to knock him out in the third round here. Now, I've seen the argument of if Edson Barboza can't knock him out, if Kamala Kirk can't knock out Makwan Amirkhani, no matter how gassed he is, why do you think that a guy like Lerone Murphy will be able to? The difference is I feel like we'll see Lerone stuff the takedowns a little bit later compared to Edson Barboza and Kamala Kirk and those guys. They were giving up takedowns. Shane Burgos did a really good job in terms of not giving up takedowns, and then he finished Makwan Amirkhani near the ending of that fight. And Lerone Murphy hits very, very hard in my opinion. And I think that if he's able to catch Makwan Amirkhani coming in, stuff a couple takedowns, and then you really pour it on him late in this fight, I think he can get him out of there. So I had my eye on Lerone Murphy round 3 at plus 1,000. I think it's worth a little bit of a shot. But even on the flip side, Makwan Amirkhani by sub plus 600, plus 800, I think that has some value as well. So I'm on the Lerone Murphy side. Seems like Ollie over there doesn't want to pick on either side here, which is completely okay with me. But I do like Lerone Murphy. Not worth the minus 300 though. I think that
no, exactly. I do think Lerone is better, and I do think he's gonna win, but like minus 300, I don't know.
That's a little crazy. That is absolutely crazy. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We got a set of 205ers going up against each other between Michal Oleksiejczuk going up against Shamil Gamzatov. Now, Gamzatov is not your normal Russian Dagestani guy, if that's what you guys are going to be considering here. He likes to go out there. He likes to strike. He's more of the striking kind of Russian here. He has some clean combinations from the outside. Not a lot of power on his shots. You'll see he goes to a decision more often than not in some in his fights, but he's going to split decisions against some very questionable competition in my eye. The Klitsin Abreu fight was very, very close. Probably could have gone Klitsin's way as well, but that just goes to show that Gamzatov kind of lets fights slip away from him at times. Now he's 14-0, obviously he's undefeated, but he has fights that are just a little bit too close for my liking. Now with the Michal Oleksiejczuk side of things, you got a guy that's going to march forward pretty much the entire time. He has decent durability. His cardio is really coming into play here now, and I think he'll be able to march down Gamzatov, make it look good for the judges in terms of being the one that's kind of moving forward the entire time, throwing combinations. And he's not really a headhunter either, which is great. Really likes to throw shots to the body as well, so that he can bring the hands down of his opponents, so that he can go back up to the head once that actually is exposed for him. My issue is if Gamzatov decides to switch it up on us and try to drag this fight to the ground, because Oleksiejczuk is a little bit of a fish off of his back, to be honest. It doesn't look the prettiest. He's been submitted a couple times, as you can already see on his record, when he is taken down, but that's just not Gamzatov's game. So that's why I'm kind of leaning with the underdog here in Oleksiejczuk. I think that he will be able to kind of move forward, make it look good for the judges, and take home a decision victory, which the prop on that I think was about plus 300. So we're talking about forward moving pressure from Oleksiejczuk, and then kind of that finesse type of striking on the outside from Gamzatov, but he's going to be on his back foot for the majority of this fight, in my opinion. What's your take on this fight, given those two styles that we have here? And in terms of a pick, like I said, Oleksiejczuk by decision is what I'm going with.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with those two, but I think with the style that you just said, I think you're right. I think I'm gonna tail you on this one.
Let's go, gangster. Let's go. All right. I will say this. He is one of the few underdogs that I do like on the card. There aren't many, but he's one of the few that I feel like stylistically he could give Gamzatov some issues. All right. Let's move on to the next fight. We got Elizeu Zaleski going up against Benoit Saint-Denis. In terms of odds, we got minus 225 on Dos Santos and plus 205 from Saint-Denis. Now, Ollie, I'm not just going to lump all you French guys together and assume that you know who this Benoit Saint-Denis guy is, but do you know him? You haven't heard of him?
No, I never heard of him, but I'm going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis on this one.
Boy, I could have guessed that even before we came on the show, my brother.
When I look at his name, I don't even know the guy. And I was like, yeah, I kind of like the name. But by the way, I just want to say you're really, really good at saying any name. It's really impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm
Good
trying
job.
to work after John Anik, and it's like I'm not going for John Anik's job or anything like that, but I really appreciate his ability to kind of pronounce names as best as possible. And obviously, I was taught French up until the age of up until grade 9, so I have to have a little bit of French in me, right? So let's see.
But what do you think of this fight? Like I said, I'm not really familiar with them.
So Benoit Saint-Denis, obviously you see has an 8-0 record, 7 submission wins, 1 knockout win. The guy is a balls to the wall guy. He goes forward, he tries to take you down. He's a submission over position kind of guy. So often when you see him trying to go for an armbar or a choke, whatever it might be, and he doesn't get it, he ends up on his back in a bad position. But luckily enough for him, sketchy competition again. Brave CF is a great company, don't get me wrong. But once you get into the UFC and you start fighting guys that are very skilled, like a guy like Olivier Zaleski, who, mainly has been seen as a striker before, is really starting to round out his game. There's a huge step up in competition there that I think that Benoit is just not ready for. But instead of paying the chalk here on Zaleski dos Santos, which I know a couple of people are doing because they believe that he'll be able to go out there and knock this kid out, I went with the violence bet here as well, too. I bet minus 130 on the under 2.5 because I feel like it will cover both angles here. I think that we'll see Benoit get a little bit too crazy, a little bit too aggressive, and that could, just put him onto a knockout here. And I think that Zaleski will probably find his chin at a certain point. And Zaleski's no slouch on the ground either. I think he could potentially put Benoit into some sticky situations, probably pull off a submission of his own. And I've seen the submission prop here for Olivier Zaleski is currently sitting at plus 900. I wouldn't mind a little bit of a sprinkle there either. But my official prediction is going to be Zaleski by knockout. And I think that I think he's more than ready for this matchup. I think this is a giant step down for him. This Benoit guy looks entertaining and looks fun. I just don't know how long his skills are going to cut in the UFC here, just because he puts himself into too many bad positions, and he's really going to have to shore that up before he can, really make a run against some of these top guys. And again, Zaleski is a beast in my opinion. I think he'll be able to knock him out there. So I'm going violence, Ollie. I'm going violence here.
Yeah. And I think you're right. Like those fighters that come from other organization, and they are used to just jump for any submission. When they come in the UFC, they get a surprise. Like for sure, if you're called Ortega, but there are some like really some fighter that's gonna work. But a lot of them, like if you give up some position like this, it's unforgivable in the UFC. You may just lose because you gave up one position. So, like I said, I think you're right if you say that he's a green fighter.
I apologize for your fellow Frenchman there, but I gotta go against him here. I apologize.
It's like his friend.
We got so many other fights that we can still make money off, so it's fine. It's totally fine. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. A fight that I'm very much looking forward to, and the debut of Albert Duraev. He's going up against Roman Kopylov. In terms of odds, we got minus 350 now on Duraev, plus 315 is the return on Roman Kopylov. Now, Albert Duraev actually fought on the Contender Series at the beginning of September and quickly made quick work of Cal Bittencourt, a Brazilian prospect. He was able to take him down pretty much immediately and smish him, as those Russian guys do. He smished this guy to the canvas. I believe he finished him by neck crank shortly thereafter. So the guy kind of reminds me of Chimaev in a sense that he really pushes the pressure, tries to get the guys to the ground, and then just punch their face through the mat or try to find a submission of some sort. Now, I'd like to actually get your opinion on this in terms of regional MMA promotions, in terms of the validity and the level of competition from these promotions before these guys come to the UFC. This guy was champion in 2 different divisions in ACA or ACB, whatever you want to call those guys over there. You got to rank that as one of the higher level regional promotions. No, or what other regional promotions do you kind of like point to be like, oh, this guy must be legit if he's coming from whatever the fuck, you know what I mean?
But I mean, before it was like a World Series of Fighting for sure. It was now it's PFL though, but for sure that was like one of the big one. But like personally, any organization from Russia.
That's the right answer. That is the correct answer.
I mean, Pertian is from there. Like I think it was ACA Pertian, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm wrong. Pertian was in at ACA. Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, all those guys, they come from those kind of organization where everybody is good. I do feel maybe in the US and Canada too, like it's possible that you can just build your record. I don't feel it's the same over there. I
It's
think
very
the
hard to
Lion
do.
Den.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love TKO. I love those guys,
Mhm.
but those guys aren't really doing the hottest, when they make it to the biggest promotions, because it feels like sometimes they're just getting built up a little bit too easily, where they're just like, okay, let's not give, for example, I'm not shitting on him. I love Charles Jourdain, one of my favorite
Mhm.
fighters, but outside of the TJ Laramie fight that he had in TKO, it seemed a little bit set up for him to try to get the best opponent so that he can have some highlight reel knockouts and make it to the UFC, which he ended up doing. Now it's getting a little bit harder for him to really find his groove inside the UFC. In terms of Roman Kopylov, who I didn't even bother touching on because I love Duraev so much. Kopylov, striker, likes to do his work from the outside. If he's able to get distance, if you give him the space to work, he's going to touch you up on the feet. However, when he was not given the distance and space in his UFC debut against Carl Roberson, he got ate up with leg kicks, and then he eventually got taken down in that third round and quickly submitted by a kickboxer, Olivier. A kickboxer. Carl Roberson goes out there, takes this guy down, and chokes him up pretty quickly in that third round. Just looking at that alone, you could almost automatically bet Duraev. But
Yeah.
a person in my position, I have to go out there and do the work. And I still believe that Duraev is more than deserving of this minus 350 price tag. And he should go out there and smash this guy through the mat.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be a really bad matchup, especially for those guys that are used to KO people.
Yeah.
And submission like the third round at 4 minutes. And you said it was really quick.
Well, he pretty much, from the entire fight, he didn't really get anything going because Carl Roberson wasn't giving him any space. He started kicking him. He really hurt his legs, to the point that you could see him wobbling and really, really making it tough for him to walk. And then in that third round, he actually poked Carl Roberson in the eye really, really bad. Roberson took 2 minutes to kind of recover. And then right after he recovered, he got the guy down and submitted him almost immediately. So yeah, not a good look.
Yeah, I think Albert is the is the player.
Let's
But
go
again, it's so tough, man. The odds are crazy,
What do you expect with these Russians, Oli? Yeah, right? When they have this much of a advantage, you got to go with them to a certain extent. There's going to be one of those guys that ends up losing that just gets flash knocked out. That's probably going to happen. But if it goes how it's supposed to go, these Russians should go out there and smash. So we'll go on to the next matchup here between Zubair Tukhugov and Ricardo Ramos. In terms of odds, we're looking at minus 160th for Tukhugov and plus 140 for Ricardo Ramos. Now, when I started doing the research for this fight, I really thought I would end up having a bet on Ricardo Ramos here. I'm a fan of the kid. The guy has some good striking from the outside, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I think he's training over there with Uriah Faber and Team Alpha Male now over the last couple fights, and it's kind of worked out for him. He sprung the upset in his last fight against Bill Algio. I like Ricardo Ramos. He came into the UFC with a ton of hype, and then now people are kind of just throwing him off to the side after he got knocked out a couple times, and now I feel like they're underrating him. With the Tukhugov side of things, obviously, I'd put him on the lower end of the Russians that are, that good. Tukhugov likes to use his wrestling when he can, but he can move forward, throw some big shots. No real technique behind it, in my opinion. I think it's more so big shots just to try to get you to respect him. And then he'll eventually come with the takedown after. But he also has horrible gas tank, in my opinion, as well. So he's been to 5 decisions in his UFC career. 4 of them have been split decisions. Of those 4, he's won 1, he's lost 2, and he went to a draw, obviously, with Ulanbekov as well. And in those 5 decision fights, he lost the third round on at least one judge's scorecard in every single fight. Not a good look. I think Ricardo Ramos will have the cardio advantage here. So there's 2 ways I'm looking at playing this. I am picking Tukhugov to win this fight. I do think he wins the first 2 rounds and survives the third and wins a decision. However, the only props that I played for this fight, round 1 Tukhugov plus 700, because I think that Ramos does have a little bit of a durability issue. I think that Tukhugov has enough knockout power to find that chin and probably put Ramos out. But if he doesn't, and this fight reaches the third round, I also poked plus 2,000 Ramos round 3, because I feel like he could potentially, snatch up a neck or something, because there are times where Tukhugov gets a little bit too desperate with his takedowns in that third round just because he's so tired. And if you do that against a guy like a black belt like Ramos, if he has enough in the tank, he'll either be able to snatch up a neck or be able to take your back, something that I've seen Tukhugov give up in the past as well when he's tired. And you don't want to give up your back against a high-level black belt like Ricardo Ramos either. So my opinion, or my prediction, is Tukhugov survives that third round, wins a decision. But the juicy props that I'm playing, round 1 Tukhugov plus 700, or round 3 Ricardo Ramos plus 2,000. Before we went live, all of you said you were really intrigued by Ramos. I'm interested to hear your thoughts regarding this fight.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Ramos on this one. Like you said, the reason why I'm taking him, it's because, I mean, what is his name? You have to help me. Tukhugov.
Zubera. Just call him the Russian.
Zubera. Okay. I told you before the podcast.
Of course, it's fine.
so Tybura, yeah, like you said, I think he's good. He's really good, but not as good as other wrestler from Russia. I do think Ricardo's gonna make him work on the ground, and like you said, you have a big problem cardio-wise. Yeah. So I do think Ricardo may have like a big first round, like a hard round, but I think he's gonna try to put pressure on Zubera. Maybe he's gonna like just jump in the guillotine or Dars, and even like for the decision, I feel like Ricardo can do enough to win 2 rounds, the 2 last rounds. So I have to go with Ramos on this one.
I like it. I don't blame you for that, especially as the underdog. He can definitely pull it off. I'm not sure what's keeping me from it, but hopefully here, for me, he actually finishes it in the third round, so I can still cash that plus 2,000 ticket. That would be nice as well.
Would be the best scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you are saying you think he wins by decision, though? That's the method of victory you're saying?
I do feel the submission could be there in the second round or third round. But like for sure, statistically, I think the decision is always
safe-ish.
Kind of. Unless it's heavyweight.
Ramos plus 550 to win by submission, if anybody is fancied by that prop there. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got the prelim headliner between Amanda Ribas and Virna Jandiroba. Very interesting fight here. I actually have a bet on Virna Jandiroba as the underdog. Intriguing fight because there's a lot of cases that you can make for Amanda Ribas. There's a couple people that I respect that are on the Amanda Ribas side as well, but I have a sense that she's a little bit fraudulent in terms of her striking. Now, on the surface, it looks like she has great striking, right? She can go out there, throw proper combinations, kicks, all that type of stuff. She was able to touch up Randa Marcos. She was able to touch up Mackenzie Dern. Like, she's able to beat those types of girls. But like she took a decent step up in competition against Marina Rodriguez. She went 30 seconds standing with her in that second round and got knocked out. And that just, even on the regional scene, she fought a girl named Poliana Viana, who's in the UFC right now, mainly a jiu-jitsu girl, but these girls went to war trying to knock each other out, and Ribas took a quick nap in that fight when Poliana Viana was able to land on her there. Not saying Virna Jandiroba is going to go out there and knock her out, but I think she strikes with enough power to kind of push Ribas back, and then I think that we'll be able to see her drag this fight to the ground, where I think she's going to have the much higher level of jiu-jitsu here, and I think she'll be able to implement that. Now, a lot of people are going to look at that Mackenzie Dern fight for Virna Jandiroba and saying, oh, she lost to Mackenzie. Why do you think she's going to beat Ribas, who obviously beat Mackenzie herself? In that fight, I thought we saw a very uncharacteristic Virna Jandiroba. We only saw her shoot one takedown, which she completed, and she ended up spending about 40 seconds on top of Dern near the ending of that second round. But there were multiple opportunities throughout the fight for her to take that top position against Mackenzie Dern, but she just decided to let her stand up, get back to the feet, thinking that she'd be able to outstrike her on the feet, and that just did not work out for her that night. But when you watch Virna Jandiroba fights, she spams takedowns. She's trying to get you to the ground. She's trying to use her jiu-jitsu. She's trying to choke you out or control you, and I think she's going to trust her jiu-jitsu here, something that I didn't think she did against Mackenzie Dern. I think she's going to trust her jiu-jitsu here against Amanda Ribas, be able to land those takedowns, which don't seem to come that hard, unless your name is Mackenzie Dern, who went 0 of 6 on takedown attempts against Amanda Ribas in that fight. But literally the first takedown attempt that Randa Marcos threw at Amanda Ribas, she was able to complete there. So I do think that Verna will be able to drag this fight to the ground. I don't know if she'll submit her. I think she's going to grind her out. I don't think that Ribas is a complete slouch in the jiu-jitsu realm, but I do think that we'll see Verna grind her out and win a decision in this spot. Again, I'm not a big Amanda Ribas believer. I did fade her at the beginning of the year against Marina Rodriguez. No idea why the odds makers made the KO prop for Marina Rodriguez plus 1,300 that night. Had to take a shot on that. That worked out. And then even her as an underdog at plus 250 was happy to catch that as well. Now here I am at the ending of the year once again, fading Amanda Ribas at plus money. Hopefully I can make it 2 for 2 this year. Are you familiar with any of these women, or what do you take from what I would just kind of throw out there for you?
Yeah, if I didn't watch both of them, but without watching anything, I was favoring Ribas. Maybe you changed my mind. I feel Verna, it's a little bit small for the category.
I thought that was the case too, but they're actually not that. They're not that different in size. I'm just going to pull it up here. I swear they're both 5'4". Topology has Amanda Ribas as 5'3". Verna Jandiroba is 5'3". So they're the same height, literally the same height. That's what I thought at first too. But then when I saw the statistics, I was like, oh, they're the same size. This shouldn't be too hard for Verna to drag this to the ground. I'm telling you, Ollie. I'm telling you.
Yeah, maybe I'm gonna go with you on this one.
I know you have some other handicapping buddies that you talk to as well. You can consult with them, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to tell you the same thing. I think there's a pretty tax, like a beautiful tax that comes on certain fighters when fighters are just, when they're kind of attractive, people just want to bet on them. And that's what I feel like is happening with Amanda Ribas.
Oh, come on.
I'm honest. Come on, Ollie. All right, I'm going Jandiroba, and I think I convinced Ollie to go with Jandiroba.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with.
Let's go to All right, let's go to the main card here. We got Magomed Ankalaev going up against Volkan Oezdemir, another heavy chalk spot, obviously, for Magomed Ankalaev. He's sitting at minus 290, plus 260 was the turn on Volkan Oezdemir. I truly think that Magomed Ankalaev is the uncrowned 205-pound champion. I think that guy is the goods. He has great striking, good takedowns as well. He can knock you out. He hasn't submitted anybody yet, but I think it's just a matter of time until he does so. But I think he's pretty good everywhere. His only blemish on his record was that last second tap out to Paul Craig.
Wait, no. Paul Craig is the uncrowned king. Come on.
Come on. Screw you. Dude, 13 seconds left in that fight, and he throws up the triangle and gets it within 13 seconds.
Exactly. Absolutely. Like, who does that? Who does that? Like, just a king does that.
I think that was like the one of the biggest mistakes Magomed's ever made, because I think if he won that fight, he probably either would have fought for a title by now or have been champion by now, because that did set him back a little bit. But I think he is the truth. I know Volkan Oezdemir, pretty stiff level of competition. I will say this, out of all the heavy favorites for the Russian fighters, Volkan Oezdemir is probably the toughest level of opponent that these
Can
Russian
you continue telling what you're saying? And I'm going to tell you after, but I have to get some for my phone because I don't have battery anymore.
Oh, yeah. Go for it. No worries. Yeah, so I do like the Ankalaev side here, but I've heard the argument that, Volkan Oezdemir could potentially win this just based on volume, right? There are times that Ankalaev is a little bit reserved and a little bit too patient and disciplined with his striking, and that could potentially put him behind on scorecards if he's not able to get a knockdown, a knockout, or at least have something significant enough happening within that round to get the judges to score it in his favor. However, I do think he's going to be able to land the takedowns here against Oezdemir, and I think he'll be able to smash him from on top. Does he finish him? I'm not 100% sure. Volkan did get knocked out by Yuri Prochazka in his last fight, but I think outside of that, he's quite durable. My question marks is, how good has he kind of made his jiu-jitsu? Because this is a guy that got, submitted by probably like the most amateur submission you can in Bellator, which is like a neck crank. It was like, I believe it was one of those can opener neck cranks that he submitted him with as well, which is a big red flag. Oezdemir, yeah, he lost to Kelly Anundsen in Bellator way before he made it to the UFC. It's been a long time. I think maybe 7 or 8 years at this point in time. And then obviously he got submitted by Daniel Cormier as well. But again, it's Daniel Cormier, so we'll cut him some slack there. I like Ankalaev here by decision, but I am going to sprinkle a little bit of that Ankalaev by submission, which is at plus 2,600, because if he does get this fight to the mat, I think it's going to be one-way traffic. You know anything about Ankalaev? What's your thoughts on that kid?
Yeah.
That guy's
so how I see that fight, it's I do think Ankalaev is gonna win the fight. I feel Oezdemir a lot of time when he like when people put pressure and hit him or do a lot of feints, he kind of put his chin up, and I do feel too that when he attacked, he is a little bit open too. We know that Magomed have a really good check hook when people came in. So I think that could be really, really dangerous, and he put a lot of pressure. So I think Volkan's going to be like under pressure and he's going to be uncomfortable. And like you said, on the ground, I do think Ankalaev is better. I actually think he's a lot better. Unless like Volkan really got better against the cage, I feel it's going to be pretty easy to take him down. So yeah, for me, I'm going with Magomed. I think I have no choice. Like you said, I do think he's the best in the category right now. So unfortunately for Volkan, which is a really nice guy, I have to go with Magomed.
I like it. I would not be doing my job if I didn't get this comment from XND287. Volkan Oezdemir's white cut looked a little rough. I do agree. He was the second last guy on the scale, and there's literally like 5 minutes left within the time frame that they could weigh in as well. So luckily he did make the weight. He looked very relieved when he made the weight. He looked a little, he didn't look too optimistic when he was going to the scale, but once he made the weight, obviously he was very happy. So yeah, it didn't seem like he had the best weight cut. We'll see how it translates into the cage tomorrow night, or tomorrow morning, I should say. All right, let's move on to the next fight. A fight most people are looking forward to: Khamzat Chimaev versus Li Jingliang. In terms of odds, we're obviously looking at heavy chalk here for Chimaev, minus 575 for him, plus 485 to return on Li Jingliang. And now I want to start this off pretty much by saying Chimaev almost missed weight. He came in right at the ending of the weigh-in time, missed weight by a half a pound. Then he got the extra hour allowance, and he was able to cut that extra half pound. So when you have a guy, just miss weight by a half a pound and then come back and make the weight, what do you make of that? What do you think's going on there?
I thought he did the DC. He didn't do the DC.
He did. Where he's touching the towel.
Yeah, I thought he was 166.
No, I don't know what happened with that. I didn't see that because that was.
No, he did the DC. He was like this, and they were like, "Yo, 166. How is that possible?"
The guy is trying to get away with it. He almost did.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, I think it's tough to know. Like it could really be like a red flag. Like we talked a little bit earlier, he didn't fight for a long time. He had like a really bad COVID.
To like the point he retired, right? Like it was so bad. Like he said, his lungs really got messed up, and he retired.
There was some rumor about cancer and everything too. And so it's tough to know what really happened, like how bad it was. There's a lot of mystery behind that. When we saw him this week, he looked fine. He looked like his whole self, but it's really hard to know if it's really gonna be him again, especially against a really dirty fighter like Lee. It's gonna be hard to say. But like you said, he had a lot of trouble doing weight, and it could be like a red flag, and he had to come back. I don't think it's too. We can't take that like for too much. I mean, it's just 30 more minutes. It's not like he tried to lose a 0.5 for 4 hours.
Yeah.
But it's kind of worrying to see that he really had trouble making a 170. I won't lie. And yeah, that's it. I think I don't know what you think about the fight. But personally, with those odds, I wouldn't push any of them, because I do think like the old Chimaev would like really kill them, take him down and pound him, and that's it. We saw Jinglan having trouble against Matthew on the ground, and Matthew is not like the highest ground game or the best wrestler either. And even on the stand-up, I think, you know what, like Jinglan is crazy. He hit hard. He's unpredictable, but other than that, I do think Chimaev is better everywhere, like really better everywhere. I do think he's gonna take him down. I do think he's gonna try to take him down. But again, I won't bet on -1,500 on a guy that thought he was going to never fight again.
That's where my concern as well, right? Like, I know it's reading into it maybe a little bit too much, but that is a little bit too much for me to put -500 on the guy who, everybody thinks that he's the next coming of Christ. Everybody thinks he's like the next best thing, but let's pump our brakes a little bit. He's been in the cage for how long, against what level of competition, right? You got to take it with a little grain of salt. And again, Li Jingliang is a very durable, tough opponent. And even though, yes, he can be taken down, let's see if he'll be able to survive on the ground. And if this does get stretched into the second and third rounds, we'll get to see what Khamzat Chimaev's gas tank looks like, especially if there's any lingering effects of the COVID thing as well. The only bet that I made, again, another degenerate little sprinkle for me, $25. I put at plus 3,600 for Li Jingliang to win in round 3, just in case Khamzat Chimaev has cardio issues. Just in case. It's $25 to win 900. I'm taking the chance. I'm taking the chance just to see what happens. But my prediction is going to be Chimaev takes him down. Chimaev does what Chimaev does, gets him out of there in the first round. I think if you're betting this fight and you do like Chimaev, the under 1.5 is probably the best way to go, which is roughly around -110, because he's going to more than likely get it done in the first round, if that's what you believe. But if he does get stretched here, because I really want to see him go out there and fight a hard 3 rounds before I'm like completely sold on this guy, because I'm sure you've seen it plenty of times before where guys are just absolutely wrecking guys, just knocking them out, submitting them really quickly. But then when they get pushed into the second and third rounds, it doesn't look so hot anymore. It doesn't look so good anymore. You can get away with that stuff on the regional scene, but once you start getting into the big leagues and start fighting legitimate competition, it's not going to cut it anymore. So I like Chimaev. I think he gets it done early, but just for insurance, I did play Li Jingliang round 3. This is also another spot you could bet live as well, in case Li does survive that first round. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it works in the second and third round. Again, Li can be taken down, but when he is in his groove and has his confidence, is able to march down his opponents, stalk them almost, really throw some big shots, and has some big knockout power. Just ask Santiago Ponzinibbio, who's probably still napping in the cage over there in Fight Island. But I do like what Li brings to the table here. I just think that Chimaev is going to be a little bit too much. So I'm going Chimaev, first round finish. Any further thoughts on this matchup, or do you want to move along?
Yeah, let's move on. By the way, it's going to be a good, like you said, it's one of the best fight on the card. I really like both fighters though.
I like it.
Let's move on.
All right, let's get to the heavyweights here. We got Alexander Volkov going up against Marcin Tybura. In terms of odds, we are looking at -280 here for Volkov, plus 255 the return on Marcin Tybura. Now, Tybura's on a 5-fight winning streak, but in his last 3 fights, the guy keeps getting rocked, keeps getting hurt, but he is lucky that the level of competition that he's going up against, Greg Hardy, he's able to take him down and really do work from on top and save himself from getting knocked out. Unfortunately, he has a mammoth of a man ahead of him here in Alexander Volkov, who over the last couple fights has really put some, call it muscle, call it fat, call it weight. The guy's really filled out that big frame that he has, standing at, I believe, 6'7" that he's currently at. Big dude. Very good striking as well. He's been able to knock out a bunch of opponents on his record. I have slight PTSD every now and then when I do bet Volkov, because I had him against Black Beast, and obviously Black Beast knocked him out with 13 seconds left there. Good God, that one still hurts. I'm counting my money, thinking that this guy has it in the bag, but Black Beast doing what Black Beast does. But I did cash on Volkov a couple more times after that against Walt Harris, and then I believe I'll be able to cash on him this weekend here against Tybura, because my main play, I have 5 units. I have $1,000 on Albert Duraev parlayed with Alexander Volkov at -122. I think those are two of the most safest Russians on the card here, who should be able to not deal with too much resistance. Again, for Tybura to be successful during this 5-fight run, for him to be successful, he's had a full MMA game. He mixes his striking with his takedowns, and he kind of just puts these guys to the grinder. But I think he's going to have a lot of resistance to deal with in terms of Volkov and trying to take this guy down, and not just trying to take him down, but trying to hold him down. I think he's going to very much struggle with that. And then I think that we'll see Volkov pick him apart on the feet and probably knock him out by the second round. So in terms of a prop, Volkov by knockout at plus 135, I think is a bit of a steal at this point in time. So yeah, I like Volkov here. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, a little bit like you. Actually, I have 2 moneyline bets on this card, and Volkov is one of them. Even though the odds are not great, but I truly don't see Tybura beating him. I really don't know how that could happen. But again, I do have PTSD, like you, like you do.
Did you have money on him too against Black Beast? Yeah. Oh my god. Fuck, man.
Look, I had money on him against Black Beast, and I had money on Overeem against
Rosenstrike. Yes. Oh, that hurts. That hurts so much.
So yeah, I still have a little bit of PTSD, but I really think Volkov is so much better, much better than Tybura. So I have to bet him on this one.
I do actually want to quickly get your thoughts on this, or know a little bit about this from you. How did you get into the betting side of things, and how long have you been doing it, if you don't mind me asking?
How did I do? I think it's one of my friends who started betting on those fights, and I got interested in it, and I kind of start going on Twitter to see if there was any capper, and there was a lot, and I actually the Twitter MMA bet, it's pretty good. It's really fun. There was like a civil war too. I think maybe some months ago with I think what's this name, this guy named Fury. Luca Fury, yeah. When he came back, it was the best thing ever on Twitter. Like, I'm telling you, I was so entertained. It was the best thing. So yeah, I got interested like this, and I actually at some point I was looking every fight to make bets, but it was taking too much of my time. But at the same time, I was feeling that I was getting better as a fighter, because I was watching specifically what other fighters were doing, what they were doing good, what they were doing wrong. So I do think it helped me as a fighter to do that, and so that's how I got in betting.
Like you said, it changed and helped you as a fighter. So do you mean did you start watching more tape? Did you not used to watch film on fighters? What do you mean by that? You didn't used to watch film on these guys? You left it up to the coaches? How did that work?
No, but it's more I was still watching my opponent, when I was fighting. But when you watch some other people from other category, or even other people in your category that you are not fighting, and you specifically look at the move that they are doing, the mistake that they are doing, everything changed. I took so many things from other fighters since I start betting. A good example is in my last fight. I did a takedown with the body lock with my leg inside. I watched this guy in Bellator do that to what was the name of the last champion in Bellator at 170?
Andrei Kreshkov, Diego Lima.
Yeah, Andrei Kreshkov. He did that to the guy who beat Rory. Who?
Diego Lima.
Yeah, exactly. He did that to Diego Lima. I think 5 times in the fight, and I really look at this technique a lot, how he was doing it and everything. And I did it last fight, and I think I did it against Morrison L too. So you know what? You look at those fights not for the entertainment, but you look at it for the technique, for the to see the all in some fighter games and what are their like strength, you know. So I think it's really good for fighters to do that. Like I said, it's kind of hard to look at everything. So I think you saw in the beginning of the show that I didn't really look all the fighters on the lowest strat, but like for me, the main event, I think it's really nice to watch them, or to watch up and comer too. You know, really good up and comer like Habib. How many times I look his fights, Makhachev, same thing. You know. So it's I think it's really good for any fighters to do that.
Yeah, shout out to my guy Hype MMA here. Yes, I meant Douglas Lima, not Diego Lima. Diego Lima is his brother that's in the UFC. I apologize for that. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We both agree on Volkov here. He should go out there and steamroll Marcin Tybura, hopefully for both of us, even though we're eating some chalk there. It's all right because he should go out there and do some work. All right. Next up, we got Islam Makhachev going up against Dan Hooker. Obviously, big odds here on Makhachev. He's sitting around -600, plus 450 is the return on Daniel Hooker. I'll actually let you kick this one off. I feel like you're familiar with these guys here. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I do think Makhachev is gonna win, but I have to put 0.5 unit on Dan Hooker. I mean, what, plus 500? Like, I think that's just crazy, especially when we know that Dan Hooker is like really dangerous with his knee. He's really dangerous with his guillotine, and he's dangerous on the feet. And Islam never fought anybody like him. You know, he's a big step up in competition. Yeah. And I mean, the Sanos was a lesser favorite, lesser underdog than Hooker. So I don't have a lot of faith, but I do think there's a little bit of value, and that's why I put 0.5 on Hooker. And you know what? Like I said, it's a kind of a hard card to bet on, so I decided to bet on this one just to have a little bit fun. You know.
I will say this. I think we're in agreement that Makhachev more than likely wins this fight. That's probably what's going to happen. He'll probably take him down. I don't think he'll be able to submit Hooker, but I do think that we're slowly starting to get this confidence from Makhachev, where he's been able to submit a high-level BJJ black belt in his last fight in Thiago Moises. Like, there's that confidence level brewing with him. But with this being a 3-round fight, I find it hard that he'll be able to take out Hooker, who is very, very durable, very, very tough to put away as well. I will say this, though. If you are looking at the Hooker side, taking that money line is great and all, but I feel as though like you're leaving a little bit of money on the table if you just don't take him by knockout, which is currently sitting at like plus 950. So like that's probably his only way to win the fight, right? I doubt he chokes him out. I doubt he wins the decision, right? I feel like if you're going to bet on Hooker, you might as well take that KO prop. No?
And how much is it inside the distance for Hooker?
Inside the distance for Hooker is currently sitting at plus 650.
Yeah, fuck.
What the shot? Shout out Bet99.
Yeah,
I did the plug for you, Ollie. I did the plug for you. All right, let's move on to the co-main event here. We're both on Makhachev, but Ollie did sprinkle a little bit on Hooker just because the odds are crazy. I completely understand that. Co-main event time, and probably the fight that a lot of people are looking forward to hearing your thoughts on. We got Pure Yan -200 going up against Corey Sandhagen, plus 185 for him. I'll give my spiel first, and then I'll actually, you know what? No, I'll let you break this one down first if you want to do so, please. Who do you like here, Yan or Corey Sandhagen?
Yeah, I really like Yan. I really like his technique. I think he's a really smart fighter. I do think he starts a little bit slowly. He's not, but at the same time, you know what? He's so technical that I understand that he's trying to get the feeling of the fight, to get the feeling of the opponent, to see little thing maybe that you cannot see on video. You want to see it first in front of him. And so I do think in the first 2 rounds is going to be a little bit stressful. I mean, he got a little bit touched on the feet, especially in the first round. He have trouble a little bit with leg kicks, but I do think Petr Yan is a better fighter, and I do think that if he tried to take the fight down, he's gonna look like Habib. You know, he's gonna look like super good. So I won't touch the fight. I think the odds are a little bit again hard to bet on anybody. But I do think Petr Yan's gonna win this fight. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough ride.
Yeah, I think honestly, stylistically speaking, I think this is the toughest test for Petr Yan in the UFC at this point in time. Like, again, you can say what you want about Corey Sandhagen losing to TJ Dillashaw, losing to Aljamain Sterling, completely different stylistical matchup here. Unless, of course, like Ollie said, Petr Yan goes out there in his wrestling singlet and just takes him down every single round and just fucks him up on the ground. That is absolutely possible. But that's not really how he fights, right? When you watch his fights, historically speaking, he wants to kind of figure you out on the feet and then eventually start putting the pressure on you and really start to, put the beating on you. And he's been successful in obviously doing that in the majority of his fights. His only loss he's managed to avenge against Magomedov, but he's looked damn good, obviously, in the UFC. My qualms, though, is like there are the small things in these fights that I feel like if we kind of look a little bit deeper, you'll be able to see that there are some flaws that Petr Yan has. And most importantly, it's one of those flaws that I think it's when he has output being put on him, he gets caught staring a little bit too much. Like he gets a little bit too patient and kind of lets the round slip away from him. I thought Aljamain Sterling had the perfect game plan in terms of just spamming him with the output, trying to keep him busy, just trying to keep him thinking about something. And it was enough to at least get the judges to see it in his favor. I believe it was just that second round. But you see it time and time again, the Jimmy Rivera fight, you see it in the Jose Aldo fight. When there's volume being thrown against Petr Yan, he gets caught. He gets caught watching too much. That's my issue with him. Now you got a guy who has the perfect tools to implement that type of game plan. Aljamain Sterling did not have the gas tank to go a full 25 minutes doing that thing, and that's where we saw Petr Yan really start to put it on him in the third and fourth round. And obviously, we know what happened in that fourth round there. Jose Aldo, same thing. It had a really good second round there, but then really start to fall apart. Like 2017 and onward, Jose Aldo, he's never been that good in rounds 3, 4, and 5. Like his cardio falls off really hard. Could be USADA, could be whatever the hell else, right? But Jose Aldo from WEC days was no longer Jose Aldo in the UFC, at least not the latter half of his career. But now with Corey Sandhagen, I feel as though we got a guy here that can go a hard 25 minutes if he needs to, with that style of just putting the output out there and kind of keeping Petr Yan thinking. Again, this is all predicated on Petr Yan not shooting takedowns or not shooting takedowns to the level of a Khabib, right? Continuously trying to take him down and trying to pound him out. If this fight stays a kickboxing fight for 25 minutes, I think we could see Corey Sandhagen squeak it out on the judges' scorecards just based off of output. One interesting statistic I came across was, shout out to my guy, MMA by the numbers, Corey Sandhagen attempts 16.24 distance strikes per minute. Per minute. The guy throws 16 strikes out there, and that's more than enough, in my opinion, that it should be able to keep Petr Yan kind of busy and or not busy, but like just watching the entire time. So I do like Corey here. I did take a shot on him at plus 205. I think the odds are a little bit too wide. I do think they should be closer. And I will say this, though. This will probably be the only time I ever fade Petr Yan. I am a big Petr Yan fan. I think the guy's an absolute beast. But there's this narrative out there that he just comes on strong later in fights. I see slightly through that because the last two guys that he came on late against were guys that had cardio issues. Jose Aldo, Aljamain Sterling. Corey Sandhagen doesn't have those issues. So I think that if he's able to go out there, do what he does on the outside, stay away from the takedowns, and just kind of keep putting that pressure on him, it's going to, the judges will start to see it for Corey Sandhagen. So I do think he has way more of a chance than people are giving him credit for. I'm getting torched up in the comment section right now for even trying to make this point about Corey Sandhagen, but I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck because I do the tape. Go ahead.
Yeah, you make a good point though. He let some round go away, you know, like you said, and that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of scared for Petr Yan for this fight. But and to be fair too, like we rarely see him do like aggressive wrestling.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he don't push the wrestling. When he takes somebody down, it's because he have the perfect opportunity to do it, and that's why we see him like when he tried to take someone down. It's just like perfect, you know.
Yeah.
But the other thing too it's Sandhagen. He gave up his back a lot.
That's the issue, right? That's where I think that Petr Yan will look like a minus 250, minus 300. That's how he does it. If he tries to go out there and strike with him for 25 minutes, it's going to be a lot closer than him being a minus 250 favorite, in my opinion. But again, I can't discredit the fact that he's going to go out there and shoot takedowns. He'd be stupid not to, right? He's training down there at American Top Team. You got to believe those coaches know that flaw in Corey Sandhagen's game. Now it's just on Corey to have hopefully done enough to try to shore up those mistakes, because his jiu-jitsu isn't horrible, but it's just he doesn't really, his takedown defense is just bad. That's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
He can get taken down, and then like I think there's a little bit of skewing going on in terms of the Aljamain Sterling fight, because people can shit on him all they want because of the way he won the title and all that stuff, but that guy's a good jiu-jitsu artist. He's very tough to deal with on the ground, right? Very tough to deal with on the ground. It has good pressure, obviously a really good back take, and was able to get that submission against Corey Sandhagen. And he really worked for that choke as well, right? Like Sandhagen was fighting for it a lot, but it was just the power, the grip, and the squeeze of Aljo that really got him that victory in that fight. But again, so many ways I see this fight going down, but like it seems like the masses just think that Jan's just gonna walk him down and knock him the fuck out. I don't think that's gonna happen. Yeah. And you got to give Sandhagen a little bit more credit than that. So I got a little bit of money on Corey Sandhagen at plus 205. I think the line is a little bit whack, but the fan in me wants Petr Yan to win. I want him to go on and be like the greatest bantamweight of all time. Like I want him to go out there and keep murking motherfuckers. You know what I mean? All right. Any further thoughts on this matchup, or do you want to move on to the main event, brother?
Yeah, let's go to the main event. But anyway, like the last fight was the main event, but let's go to the main event.
Yeah, exactly. This is the feel-good main event. This one coming up. Everybody wants to see these guys go out there, have a good fight, shake hands, and hopefully one guy be the victor. And what I mean by that is I hope Glover Teixeira wins a belt in 2021. We got Glover Teixeira going up against Jan Blachowicz. This is going to be Glover's second attempt at taking that 205-pound strap, but luckily enough, this time it's not John Jones across the cage from him. He got Jan Blachowicz, who has a career resurgency over the last couple years, which has obviously brought him to the title shot, wins the title, and even defends it against Israel Adesanya. Not a lot of people thought he was going to be able to win that fight, but he was able to pull off the upset there as I think a plus 200-ish underdog in that fight. A lot of disrespect on Blachowicz's name, and even pretty much in every single fight that he's had, like, since this run, the Corey Anderson fight, he used the underdog. The Dominic Reyes fight, he used the underdog. Obviously, the Israel Adesanya fight, the underdog. Now here he is, finally as a solid favorite over Glover Teixeira, who even himself, he's been the underdog on his rise to the title shot here, which has been hilarious. So in terms of odds, we're looking at minus 265 for Blachowicz, plus 255-ish, or plus 245, sorry, for Glover Teixeira. I don't want anything to do with this fight because I just want to cheer for Glover Teixeira because if he gets it done, the way he gets it done is takedowns and crushing top pressure, right? Even at his prime age of 42 years old, happy belated birthday. I believe his birthday was yesterday. His jiu-jitsu is still top notch, top level. Like he can hold guys down. He can transition from one position to another pretty fluidly. Like his back takes still high level. Watch the Iwan Kutalaba fight. You definitely see it in that fight quite a lot. But I think that's his way to win the fight. It's just his chin that's a little bit iffy, right? He keeps getting rocked in all these fights, but luckily for him, he's going up against an Anthony Smith who was sucking wind late in that fight. He's going up against Thiago Santos, who was coming back from reconstructive knee surgery and had horrible gas tank issues in that fight too, and he's able to take these guys down and then do work from on top. Here with Blachowicz, though, he's going to get a guy that's 5 rounds he can go, has good power in his hands. I believe he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, which should hopefully keep him out of crazy trouble on the ground here against Glover, but I could definitely see instances where Glover is able to control him from that top position, maybe not get a submission, but at least control him from that top position. The way that I see it going down, though, at a certain point, Blachowicz is going to be able to land that Polish power on that chin of Glover Teixeira. Teixeira's not going to be able to keep on to it. He might shoot for a desperation takedown, but unfortunately for him, it's not Anthony Smith. It's not Thiago Santos. It's Jan Blachowicz. He'll likely stuff those takedowns whenever he has Teixeira rocked, and he should be able to put it on him and get him out of there. So I got Blachowicz probably second, maybe third round TKO here. But the fan in me, Ollie, and I'm sure you too, is cheering for Glover Teixeira to death. How do you see this one going down, and who do you think ends up winning?
Yeah, it's the same thing as you. I see Jan winning this fight. Glover have like you said, a really good ground game, and dude, his ground and pound is really high level. Is like really high level ground and pound. He's staying busy, especially for this category. He is really really good on the ground. With that being said, I think it's going to be really hard for him. Whoa, what happened?
Apologies.
But I think he's mad at me, eh?
My wife's home, so he's.
But yeah, I do think it's gonna be hard to take Jan down, and I do see I do see Jan kind of test that shin of Glover. So yeah, for sure, Glover is like a little bit the Rocky Balboa of MMA right now. So it would be like a really really nice story to see him win. He may have a bigger heart than Jan. But other than that, I see Jan better than everywhere. So even I like I said, I don't see Glover taking him down, and I can't see Jan taking him down and just lay on top of him. So I do a little bit like you. I do see Jan winning by TKO or KO, like in the second or third round.
Yeah, the interesting part is everybody keeps talking about how old Glover is at 42 years old. Blachowicz is 38. He's not, a young spry chicken himself either, but he is definitely having his career best performances at this old age of 37, 38 years old. But yeah, it looks like me and Ollie are going to be on the Blachowicz side here. I just can't bring myself to bet against Glover to share at this point in time. I doubt you'll be doing the same, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. That's pretty much a wrap on the breakdowns here. We will leave you guys with our lock of the night play or our most confident bet on the card. Personally, for me, I'm going with Albert Duraev plus Alexander Volkov, parlayed minus 122. That's what I got it at. Ollie, what's your biggest bet on the card? What do you like the most?
Yeah, I like Volkov. I think that's it's. I don't like to say it's my biggest bet because of the odds. They are pretty bad, but like I said, it's really a hard card to bet. I find. So I won't say Dan Oker is my safest bet.
How dare you? You're gonna lose people a ton of money trying to say that shit. I do want to leave you on this. What are you doing, if anything at all, at this point in time? What are you doing in the meantime between now and the start of the next PFL season? What's Ollie's life going to be like for the next couple months?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. I think I'm gonna train. I'm gonna train a lot, but differently, maybe to just to get better. I want to improve my my cardio too. So I think that's gonna be my two main goal during this 5 or 6 months layoff. But yeah, I won't work. I'm just gonna train, I think. I know I have like here in Quebec. I may have some contract for TV or TV show. For some reason, they like that I say everything that passes into my mind.
Sorry, you say you're going to be the next Quebecois movie star? Is that what's
No, I
happening
don't
right
think so. But more like the guy they call to have a to have the show cancel or something.
Don't let them know that yet. Don't let them know that yet. Get the money first, and then let them say what they want.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, for me, I'm just gonna train, and you know what? Like GSP, he retired, but he's still training every day. So it's always fun to have him train with us, and he kind of slowly getting better and better as a coach. So it's really getting interesting, and like GSP always try to improve. So he always going everywhere to get new technique and come back telling us the new technique and everything. So it's really interesting to have him a little bit more at the gym and less as like a training camp. So it's fun. He take time to help us. So yeah, I think that's gonna be my next 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, it's awesome seeing in the corner every now and then. Like you just see him pop up out of nowhere, helping Faraz out or helping whoever else is fighting, right? I
Yeah.
do actually want to ask you a question about something you just said in terms of you want to work on your cardio. That's always a question that I'd like to ask my guests, like whether they're coaches or fighters. Because, like, to me, it's just like, what is he just going to go run more? Like, what does it entail? What is your approach in terms of trying to improve your cardio? What are things that you're looking to do, or do you not know yet? Are you going to go out there and try to seek some wisdom of somebody else?
Um, you know what? Like when I was in the UFC, I really thought I had to go to the gym and push myself to the max and try to improve my cardio like this. And my last two fights, that's not what I did. I was doing conditioning, but just for an injury prevention. And my cardio, I was doing it in the gym and I was running. That's it. So I do think that I have to do a lot of wrestling and mix the wrestling with the pads. I think that's where I really have a lot of trouble, to always like try to take the guy down and then do the stand up part is really really hard. And I think any MMA fighter is gonna be gonna tell the same thing. That's the hard part. And I feel that my last two fights, I did really great in the training camp to do that. We changed a little bit our training. We did a lot of cage wrestling and then small glove fighting, stand up, cage wrestling, stand up, cage wrestling, stand up. So we were switching a lot, and I felt my cardio a lot better. And I think I want to continue in that part, and I want to run a little bit too. I'm gonna try to beat my record running. Yeah, that's how I'm gonna try to improve it. But I do think doing a lot of wrestling, mixing with stand up is the key.
All right, last question that I promised I'll let you get out of here. Outside of H2O and TriStar, have you gone to other gyms, and whether it was just like a weekend that you spent or something like that, were there any other gyms where you actually sought out some training, whether it was because of the training partner, the coaches, whatever it was? And if you could share your experience, that would be great too.
Well, during COVID, I went to the Danar Death Squad.
Oh yeah, in New York.
Yeah, I went there for a month. I went in Antigua to actually to train with a rich billionaire that flied us. Yeah, it was kind of weird.
All expenses paid.
Yeah,
Wow.
like private jet and everything was crazy.
Damn. Who'd you go with?
In Antigua.
Yeah. Was it just you by yourself or a couple
No,
fighters?
it was me and some jiu-jitsu guy. Actually, the guy who invited us, it's like a pretty known crypto guy called Roger Ver.
Okay.
So he's a big fan of jiu-jitsu, so he needed some people to do jiu-jitsu. So we went. But yeah, I did the Danaro squad. And here in Quebec, I train with anybody that wants to train with me. So I help when Marc-André was when he was here, I was training with him. If anybody want to come in H2O, they are always welcome to come train with me. So I mean it's a small town, and it's a small world too. There's not a lot of people doing MMA in Quebec, so we have to help each other. Ironically, the only one that I never trained with, it's Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain is really privative, as you know.
Interesting. I thought he'd be searching, because I know he used to be at Pro Star, I think was the name of his gym, right? Eric Bertrand, I think, was the guy that was running that gym. Yeah. Interesting. I thought he'd be going to, like, I believe there's Sherbatov MMA as well, Yanni Sherbatov, those guys. I'm not sure if they have their gym still, but that's like the only other gym I could think of. I would assume you guys are cross training as much as possible now, especially with you guys on the bigger stage, right?
Yeah, but but I mean, it kind of works for him. But no, I think Charlie is maybe one of the only fighters that don't really cross train. Like he trained with Fabio. Like you said, he trained with Yoni. I don't know if he's going there anymore. I do know that he's still with Fabio, but we rarely see him in any gym. But I mean, if you like it like this, it's okay with it's okay with anybody, you know. But yeah, we are kind of lucky here in Quebec that everybody have a good we are friendly, you know. So we all train together, and we understand that we have to help each other to get to the level of the US guy or the Brazilian guy or the Russian guy, because we are not allowed doing MMA. Actually, for my last fight, I was fighting a southpaw, and I had nobody because of
Wow.
I had no southpaw. Like my friend had to try to be southpaw, but it's because of COVID. You know, it's there's not a lot of people coming to TriStar anymore.
I remember Andrew Sanchez used to be up there, but he moved to AKA before his last fight as well.
Yeah, exactly. Before there was like US coming in, European coming in. Yeah. Now there's not a lot of people, and I really had no southpaw.
That's crazy. So, still worked out for you though. It still
worked out for me. And you know, some of my friend Nick Spa, he played southpaw, but it was the first time doing it.
That is hilarious. But again, luckily you were still able to go out there and get the win. Ollie, I could do this for 3 hours if I could, man. But I don't want to keep you waiting too much longer here. So I do greatly appreciate you taking the time here on a Friday night to join us and give your thoughts on the fights this weekend. Obviously, we had peaked at about 200 live viewers that wanted to watch and get your thoughts on it as well too. Anything you want to say on the back end here, and then I'll let you go, brother?
Well, I have to say one thing. Firstly, thank you for inviting me, but I have a sponsor that I need to plug, Bet99. That's it. That's
all you have to say? Come on. Promo code gangster.
But I do think it's really funny that I'm like, I don't even know my own promo code, but go to Bet99. But no, for real, tomorrow, no, I don't have a boosted odd this time. Sorry, guys, but normally they give me boosted odds that I tell them to do. So let's say this week I had Abigail at plus 290. So it was pretty good money, and I had Recouper. I don't know. Yeah, Recouper. No, it was Wade. I choose Wade instead. But Abigail was plus 290. So if you want boosted odds, you can come follow me or just go on Bet99. Again, thank you so much for having me, and it was a really nice time. Fuck, it's kind of an hour and 40, eh?
I know. It goes by quickly, but I have so much goddamn fun with my guests, and you're no exception to that. I love talking to you as well. But next time, we'll be a little bit more prepared. We'll get some boosted odds. We'll make it your lock of the night play, and we'll give you the promo code, reference code, all that type of stuff. And hopefully we can put a little extra cash in all these pockets as well while he's dropping this knowledge on us. Ollie, honestly, I really appreciate you coming on, brother. We'll try to line something up in the next couple months as well to get you back on here and break down some more fights with us. It seems like everybody's been enjoying it. But for now, good luck in improving your cardio. Good luck on the next season of the PFL, but I'm sure we'll definitely be talking before that as well. On behalf of myself and Ollie, good luck on your bets tomorrow. And remember, the fights start in 12 hours. It's an early start time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. So don't get caught napping. Don't get caught sleeping, because there's going to be some great fights right from the jump. We got to Ulanbekov and Nascimento kicking off the card, and then just pure fire right after that. So make sure you guys stick around. Good luck on your bets, and I'll see you guys next week to break down another big card, UFC 268 between Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. Let's fucking go. But tomorrow night or tomorrow morning, Alexander Volkov. Let's go. Make us rich, buddy.